A lot of people think that the E-Type is the most beautiful car ever made. I certainly do, and it's one of the prime reasons that I bought one.
The E-Type was a total break from the previous Jaguars. The XK 120 through 150 stayed consistent with post-World War II styling. Their large fenders and bulky stance continued up to 1961.
Well, when this car debuted in the early 60s, it was stunning in a number of ways. I mean, remember, cars were really blocky looking back then. And this thing is so rounded, so sleek, so voluptuous, it just completely set a new trend there.
Chubba's predecessors at the magazine agreed, writing, "No other make has fired the enthusiast's imagination to quite the same extent."
This car was also based on the Jaguars that it won the 24 Hours of Le Mans 5 times in the 50s. That's a tremendous winning period, and this car is directly derived from those, and some of that rounded, sleek-looking styling came right from the D-Type that had several of those victories.
It should be no surprise that our current editor-in-chief enjoys being behind the wheel of his classic 65 Series 1. Now, we have to point out that his is not a restored XK. It has been repaired, as you've likely read, but it remains almost completely original.
It's not perfect, but that means I have the freedom to drive it. You know, I'll take it to Home Depot and put it in the parking lot out in the far corner someplace and go in and get a couple of gallons of paint and take it back. I just love driving the car.
And the opportunity to run the XKE on a track is irresistible. But even off the track, you can tell it was derived from Jaguar racing heritage. The sleek lines and curves give the impression of speed while standing still. And once inside the cockpit, you're ready for a driving experience.
Well, it's an incredibly pure sports car. I mean, you look at the inside of this thing, no power features at all. I mean, no cruise control, no power seats, no power windows, barely has a radio.
And the racing heritage continues under the hood.
If you can get past the fact that this is an original, unrestored engine showing all the signs of corrosion rather than the polished mirror finish that it should have, what you need to notice here is that this is a double overhead cam engine.
It is derived from the same engines that powered those Le Mans winners. The 4.2-liter puts out 265 horses with 3 SU carburetors and a pair of 3-into-1 headers. The independent front suspension has twin A-arms that use torsion bars instead of springs for better packaging.
I've always been amazed by how rigid this car is compared to modern convertibles. Part of that is the monocoque structure, and part of it is the very deep sills that this car has. If you lift off the power in mid-corner, the tail wants to step out right away. But if you put the gas back on, it stabilizes the car immediately.
The XKE did go through several changes during its lifetime, including the addition of a 12-cylinder engine. However, after its production ended in 1975, the Jaguars that would follow never lived up to the E-Type's popularity or that racing bloodline.
I think most people would accept that when the E-Type went out of production in '74, it was replaced by the XJS, which was very much more of a grand touring type of car. That was a much larger, heavier, plusher, softer car than the E-Type, and not the pure sports car.